It was an ordinary morning in the holy city of Medina. The sun rose gently behind the reddish mountains, its rays touching the golden domes and the white minarets. Birds were flying over the Prophet's mosque, and pilgrims were walking calmly, reciting salawat and whispering prayers. The city was breathing peace, as it always did. But on that morning, something happened that would shake not only Medina, but the entire world. Mount Uhud, the mountain that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, once called a mountain that loves us and we love it, suddenly began to tremble. At first, it was a faint vibration, like a heartbeat coming from deep within the earth. People thought it was just a small tremor, but within seconds, the ground under the mountain began to shake violently. Birds flew away in fear, car alarms went off in the distance, and the air was filled with a low, rumbling growl that sounded like thunder rising from the core of the mountain itself. At the foot of Mount Uhud, several tourists and locals who were visiting the graves of the martyrs of Uhud suddenly stopped as the ground beneath them cracked. A blinding light flashed from within the rocks, blue, bright and swirling like a whirlpool of energy. The entire mountain roared. People screamed and started running, their white thobes and abayas fluttering in the hot desert wind. Within moments, a massive explosion of dust and light erupted from the side of the mountain. A deep hole appeared, like the mouth of a giant beast opening toward the sky. The sound was deafening. It was as if the earth itself had split open. A strange glowing mist began to rise from the crater, and the color of the air around it turned from golden to crimson. Witnesses later said the sound wasn't just an explosion. It was like 1,000 voices crying out from inside the earth. News spread instantly. Videos recorded by pilgrims and residents flooded the internet. Within minutes, Mount Uhud explosion became the top trend on every platform in the world. Some said it was a volcanic eruption, others claimed it was an earthquake, but geologists quickly confirmed Mount Uhud is not volcanic. There was no tectonic activity in the region. Something else had happened, something no one could explain. The Saudi civil defense and geological teams were immediately dispatched. Helicopters hovered above the site, roads were blocked. The area was declared restricted. The royal palace was informed. Within an hour, the Saudi crown prince himself arrived at the scene by helicopter. Standing on the sand, dressed in his traditional robe, he stared at the mountain with disbelief. Before his eyes was a huge crater glowing with a mysterious blue light, as if the mountain was alive. The crown prince ordered everyone to stay back. "No one goes near it until we understand what this is," he said firmly. Scientists began setting up instruments, sensors, and drones. The hole appeared to go hundreds of meters deep. Strange electromagnetic readings were detected. Compasses went wild. Drones sent into the crater lost signal after only a few seconds. Yet in those few seconds of footage, something strange was seen. Something metallic, shining, and covered in ancient inscriptions. The Saudi Geological Commission contacted experts from around the world, from the United States, Japan, and Europe. Within 2 days, international scientists arrived in Madinah under high security. The site was surrounded by guards, and media was banned. But rumors leaked. Some workers claimed they had seen ancient Arabic letters glowing on the rocks. Others whispered that they heard voices echoing from inside the crater, reciting verses, not clearly but softly, like distant whispers. As the investigation deepened, one shocking discovery changed everything. A special robot, built to withstand high electromagnetic fields, was lowered into the hole. The camera streamed live footage to the control center. The air inside the crater shimmered like heat waves. Then suddenly, the screen cleared, and what appeared shocked everyone in the room. At the bottom of the pit stood a massive stone chamber, perfectly round, glowing faintly with blue light. On its walls were carvings in ancient Kufic Arabic script. One of the scientists who could read it began translating with trembling lips. The words read, "This is the boundary of truth. Beneath this mountain sleeps the testimony of faith." None shall uncover it until the earth itself bears witness. Everyone fell silent. The Saudi prince, watching the footage, whispered, "Subhanallah." But that was not all. As the camera moved deeper into the chamber, they found something else, a perfectly preserved relic, a cube-shaped stone unlike any material known on Earth. It was radiating faint energy. The scientists measured the radiation. It wasn't nuclear, not magnetic, not thermal. It was something completely different, a pulse, rhythmic and repeating almost like a heartbeat. The Crown Prince immediately ordered that the relic be sealed and moved to a secure underground lab in Riyadh for further study. But as they attempted to lift it with robotic arms, the stone emitted a loud humming sound. The entire crater shook again. The light turned blinding white. The robot's camera cut off. For a moment, everyone outside saw the mountain glowing from within. The ground vibrated like a wave, and a gust of cold wind swept across Medina. Then everything fell silent. When the dust cleared, the blue light had disappeared. The crater looked empty. The relic, gone. Panic spread. The scientists were in shock. The robotic equipment was destroyed. The prince stood speechless, staring at the now silent mountain. "What we saw," he said quietly, "was not from this world." Within hours, the Saudi royal court released an official statement. Unusual geological activity was recorded at Mount Uhud. No casualties. The site is secure, but behind the scenes, secrecy deepened. The footage of the relic was classified. Only a few officials were allowed to view it. However, one of the workers secretly kept a copy of the initial footage and uploaded it anonymously online. In the video, viewers could clearly see the glowing cube and the Arabic inscriptions. The video spread like wildfire. Millions watched in disbelief. Religious scholars across the Muslim world began discussing what this could mean. Some said it was a sign from Allah, a reminder to humanity of the power hidden beneath sacred lands. Others warned it could be a divine test, not a treasure. Several old hadiths were soon quoted across social media. One said, "When the mountains of Medina tremble, it will be a sign for those who doubt." People began flocking to Medina, trying to see the site from afar. The government increased security and restricted access completely. The Crown Prince called an emergency meeting with scholars from Al-Azhar, the Grand Mufti of Saudi Arabia, and international experts. The question was simple, yet impossible. What was that thing beneath Mount Uhud? Days turned into weeks. The scientists who studied the magnetic data noticed something else. Every night, exactly at the same time the explosion occurred, energy spikes were detected coming from beneath the mountain. The pattern repeated every 24 hours, like the pulse of a living being. It was synchronized with something deep within the earth. Then came another shocking moment. Satellite imagery showed that the same energy signature was faintly visible in two other locations, near Mount Sinai in Egypt and in the empty Quarter Desert. The 3 points formed a perfect geometric triangle on the map, with Medina at the top. The Crown Prince was briefed. He looked at the map silently and said, "These are not coincidences. These are signs." Religious scholars reminded him that Mount Uhud is not an ordinary mountain. It witnessed the Battle of Uhud, where the Prophet, peace be upon him, and his companions fought valiantly. It is a mountain filled with the blood of martyrs, with history, with faith. The Prophet once said, "Uhud loves us, and we love Uhud." Could this event be the mountain's own way of calling out to humanity again, reminding them of forgotten faith? The Crown Prince ordered that the crater be sealed permanently. A white marble dome was built over the site, with the inscription, "Only Allah knows what lies beneath." But rumors didn't stop. Some said at night the dome still glows faintly. Others claimed to hear faint voices of dhikr coming from under the mountain. Scientists left with no answers. Religious men found their faith strengthened, and the world stood in awe. A few months later, a conference was secretly held in Riyadh. The scientists presented their findings. One senior physicist from Japan said the readings from the crater defied all known physical laws. "It's as if the source of energy under Mount Uhud isn't from Earth," he said. Another researcher, a Muslim revert from France, raised his hand and said softly, "Perhaps it is not meant to be explained by science." After a long silence, the crown prince stood and said, "This mountain has witnessed prophets and martyrs. It will now witness the awakening of hearts. Let this be a reminder to mankind that Allah can show his signs whenever he wills." The next morning, the Saudi government released a short, calm statement. Mount Uhud remains stable. Investigations concluded there is no danger to residents. The world moved on, but the footage, the mystery, and the faith it sparked remained alive in the hearts of millions. Weeks later, pilgrims visiting Medina began to notice something miraculous. The small streams that run near Uhud, usually dry, now carried clear, cool water that smelled faintly of musk. Locals said it was a blessing from the mountain. Others believed it was a message that from fear and chaos, Allah always brings mercy. And then, one night, a security guard posted near the sealed dome reported seeing a faint beam of blue light shooting upward for a few seconds, disappearing into the sky. When he checked the surveillance cameras, there was no record of it. The next day, the guard quietly resigned, saying, "I've seen enough to believe." Years later, people still talk about that day. The day Mount Uhud roared. The day the earth opened and the world stood still. The day faith and science collided and the believers whispered, "Indeed, Allah shows his signs to those who reflect."